Well, Joe, for the first 20 or so years of my career, I was in the real estate business and I was a director of a company which developed in a number of unusual and interesting ways back in the 80s, but culminated in us floating 25% of the business on the London stock market. And that really got me interested in how businesses grow and develop, with particular emphasis on the people side of it. So after that, I then switched to working with early stage and startup businesses. A lot of my work was with family-owned businesses, owner-managed businesses, and it was gradually developed more and more to the startup world, to the emphasis on startups, to helping support people grow and develop their businesses. And that was really how it came about. And then it was linking with the Judge and with the Centre for Entrepreneurial Learning. And for the last few years, I've been a mentor on Ignite, the summer school, and also a facilitator on one or two of the other programs that you run. I think the key task, the main thing, is the transition, enabling people, helping people and supporting them change from taking the ideas of all the information they're learning, all the academic stuff they're learning in the background, and translating that into the realities of their own project, their enterprise project that they're working and developing on. That, I think, is the really key part of it. Putting it into practice, making it happen, and working on it, developing a close personal relationship with them as that happens and develops. So I think that really lies at the heart of it, giving them that confidence, helping them understand what's going on, and helping them make that transition from the theory to the practice of developing and starting their own projects. Well, as you know, we have the two residential sessions. There's the week in September at the beginning of the programme, at the beginning of the diploma, and then 2 weeks in the spring. And during those, there are two ways distinctly. There are times when we have one-to-one sessions with each a person in our mentor group, and then there are other times when we have the mentor groups together, and there are probably 5 or 6 people in each mentor group. So let me just talk first about the group sessions when we're all together. For each of those, there is generally a theme or a task set, and it might be to do with strategy, it might to do with marketing, it might do with business models, and we have an excellent tool we use for that called the Business Canvas for the business models, which then is developed and worked on. And they work both as a group, sharing ideas and learning from each other, which is hugely important, because if you've got a group of even 5 or 6 people, the shared experience there that they have together and share and work together is tremendously important and tremendously valuable. Then, quite often I ask them to work in pairs. So again, they're continuing to learn from each other and getting feedback on their own ideas, which is one of the key things in the diploma, learning to listen to other people and share ideas and articulating your own battles, struggles, ideas, concerns, because that is the way that you learn and suddenly realize from the sharing where ideas fall in place and you have those real wow moments every now and again. And then also there are the times I mentioned one-to-one, when during those sessions the others might be working in pairs or in a group as a whole, and then I'll have half an hour, 3/4 of an hour with each person on their own to look at their own issues and help them think through the areas they may be grappling with, the areas that they're entirely confident with, and stitching it together to gradually develop the theme for their enterprise project. Well, I think everybody will know at this stage from you about the VLE, the Virtual Learning Environment, which is a very powerful tool. Quite difficult to describe in theory. You need to get your hands on and play with it to really understand how it works, but it is good and excellent. With that, there are weekly themes, as I think people will already know, and during each weekly theme there is the general dialogue on the VLE between all the students, as well as each individual mentor group has its own forum if they want to use that. But I think most importantly, there is also the opportunity through messaging on that to have one-to-one conversations. So I will have one-to-one conversations on the VLE with members of my group as and when they want it and want that additional support. So through that, it's both me contributing to and responding to the questions and issues that are being discussed. And parallel with that, there are other ways that we'll communicate. It can be by telephone or Skype, it can be by email, or as I've mentioned, it can be by the one-to-one messaging on the VLE, but also for anybody who is based in and around Cambridge, I'll have a meeting with them as and when necessary. But what I try and achieve with the group is to have contact with them and a discussion with them in any of those bases at least sort of once every 2 weeks, because that is the way I can most help them to develop and explore and share their ideas and learn from that. And I think the other critical factor, which is actually currently happening with this year's group, is 1 or 2 people are beginning to think their original idea, their original enterprise project idea, is perhaps not what they thought it might have been right at the outset. And so you get to the point saying, now what do I do about this? Do I change it? Do I bin it and find another one? But that is so much part of the whole learning process and the experience of the diploma. And it's essential that people don't panic at this sort of stage. There's still plenty of time to do that. And I actually believe that that is a very, very important part of the learning process. I think primarily it's on the person. But through that, it focuses on it moves to their business idea. Because as you're talking to the person and building that relationship with them, and that's what I really try and do, to build a fairly close personal relationship with them. So hopefully they develop some confidence and trust in what I can give them, and vice versa. I get to know them and I get to understand them as individuals and perhaps what their needs are. But that obviously then has to be translated and linked directly into their enterprise project. But if somebody is having a difficulty or maybe going what I feel might be going off track a bit with their project, then I will chip in with that. And I think it's my role to challenge and ask difficult questions and then help them answer those questions, but not giving them the answers, helping them think it through. I think the fundamental thing is to be sure to have some sort of link, connection, conversation, whether as things I've mentioned just now, whether it's email, VLE or Skype, about once a fortnight. And that, I think, is the most important way. I've got one student at the moment who is always very keen, after we've had one Skype conversation, he's based in Germany, he is always very keen that we book another date 2 weeks later. And that actually works very well. But not everybody wants to do it like that. And some people just will get in touch when they have an issue. But if there's been a bit of a silence for maybe 3 weeks, I'll start chivying and contacting them and saying, how are you doing? You know, is there anything you'd like to talk about? I think it's the ability to listen. I think, and listen and learn, and to be open about sharing ideas. We had on last year's diploma a girl right at the outset who said, I can't possibly share my idea because somebody will take it and I will lose the initiative and they'll take it to the market before I can do it. And we had quite an entertaining time with her. She was great in the end, getting her and persuading her that without sharing your idea, without talking about it, you won't get anywhere, because it's through the articulation and thinking through that you suddenly have a really good aha moment. Just by talking about it, you say, I hadn't thought of it like that before. Now I understand. And I think that's the most important thing for a mentee in that role, is to listen, to be open, to share ideas, and to realize that, you know, they're not always right, but equally they are right a lot of the time, because with the joy of all of this, there is no one right answer. I think what I really enjoy is, what I've tried to describe, is the building of that relationship with the mentees, with the students, and getting to know them, getting to understand them, and getting to find out exactly what it is that they want and how I can best help them achieve that. I suppose as last year was the first year I'd done it, at the end of it, the highlight was, for me, and I remember it so well with my group, is where they got to at the end and how they had changed, not as personalities, but changed in their learning, their application, their understanding of entrepreneurship and all that's needed, how that had developed through the year, and right at the end, that's really good. And indeed, from that, there are some still, with 2 or 3 of them, I still have an ongoing sort of friendship relationship. We keep in touch, find out what they're doing, and it becomes informal mentoring, and I'm very happy to do that. And I think that, for me, is the highlight. If one can achieve that as a mentor, that sort of ongoing relationship, then maybe I'm beginning to get something right.